The wind on Crowheart Ridge wasn't just cold that night. No, it felt mean, like it had teeth, like it knew something terrible was happening and wanted in on it. Snow whipped sideways across the cliff, slicing through the dark like white knives. And the sky above? You couldn't even call it a sky, just a solid sheet of black, heavy and swollen, pressing down on everything beneath it. Somewhere in all that darkness, a man was begging his lungs to keep working. Officer Adam Hale. And honestly, if you'd seen him right then, on his knees in the snow, hands tied behind his back, breath shaking like a dying engine, you might not have believed he was a cop. He looked more like a wounded animal someone dragged out here to put down. Caleb Rowe made sure of that. Caleb stood a few feet away, coat snapping in the wind, face half lit by the flicker of a lighter he kept opening and closing. The flame sputtered in the gale, but he didn't seem bothered. People like Caleb never were. He had that grin, thin, lazy, cruel, like he already knew how the night was going to end. And he was enjoying the preview. Next to him, Duke Mercer paced back and forth, stomping holes into the snow with his steel-toed boots. Jittery, jumpy, cracking his knuckles, wiping his nose on his sleeve. Duke wasn't smart, but he was loyal. Loyal to the wrong man, but still loyal. Adam lifted his head, or tried to. Hard to say how much he could actually see, because the duct tape over his eyes had half frozen to his skin. Frost built up along the edges like tiny crystals. His breaths came out sharp, broken, each one shorter than the last. "You know," Caleb said, snapping the lighter shut with a click, "you really made this harder than it had to be, Hale." Adam didn't respond. Couldn't, maybe. His jaw clenched tight, and every breath carried a wet hitch deep in his ribs, like something inside had cracked and didn't want to move anymore. And truth is, it had. At least one rib. Maybe two. Duke stopped pacing. "We should finish this," he muttered, glancing over the ridge like he expected someone to show up. "Storm's getting worse." "Storm's perfect," Caleb said. "Storm means no one will find him." He crouched down in front of Adam, close enough that Adam could feel his breath through the cold. "And no one will hear him." Adam exhaled slowly, the sound trembling. You don't have to do this." Caleb actually laughed, soft, almost friendly. "Oh, buddy, we passed that exit miles ago." He grabbed Adam by the collar and yanked him upright. Adam groaned, a raw, low sound scraping out of him as pain shot up his side. His legs barely held him. "Where's the file?" Caleb asked. Adam stayed silent. Caleb's smile faded. "Fine." The punch hit straight into Adam's ribs, and the sound he made. God. It wasn't even a scream. More like air being forced out of a body that didn't have much left to give. Even Duke winced. Even he wasn't heartless enough to enjoy that. "Look," Caleb said, brushing snow off his gloves. "The file's gone. We know it. But we need to make sure you're gone, too." He snapped his fingers. Duke stepped behind Adam and shoved him forward. Adam stumbled, boots sliding on icy rock, until his toes hung right at the edge of the cliff. Nothing below him but wind. Wind. And a drop so deep it didn't look real. Adam swallowed hard. Caleb, don't. Caleb stepped closer. So close his voice sounded almost tender. Hey, don't take it personal. You were just the wrong cop, with the wrong conscience, in the wrong town. Then he placed a hand on Adam's shoulder and, almost gently, pushed. Adam's foot slipped, and for a split second, the world held its breath with him. Then gravity ripped him off the ridge. He fell. Not like in the movies where people scream the whole way down. No. Adam didn't have breath left to scream. The cold stole it instantly. Snow and rock tore at his clothes as he tumbled, hitting branches, smashing against outcroppings, the world turning into a blur of white and black and pain. Pure pain. A final, brutal impact slammed him into something half buried under the snow. Maybe a log, maybe a boulder. He didn't know. He didn't care. He just lay there, twisted, broken, bleeding into the frozen earth. Up on the ridge, Caleb looked over the edge but saw nothing, just darkness swallowing the mountain whole. Duke shivered. You think he's dead? Caleb slid his lighter back into his coat. He will be. Then they walked away, their footprints already disappearing beneath the storm. Down below, far beneath the ridge, Adam Hale exhaled a ragged breath. Just one. Then another. Barely there, but enough to keep the universe from closing its hand around him. Snow fell harder. The wind screamed through the trees, and the whole valley, Frost Valley, slept on, completely unaware. That one stubborn heartbeat was refusing to die in the darkness, while Adam Hale was lying there at the bottom of Crowheart Ridge, barely hanging on. Life in Frost Valley just kept moving like nothing happened. You know how towns are, quiet on the surface, storms underneath. But out in the Winterwood Forest that morning, there was someone, well, two someones, who were about to stumble into something that would change everything. Mia Thompson wasn't supposed to be out that far from home. She knew it. Her mom knew it. Even the trees looked like they knew it. But kids are kids. And the morning felt different to her. Lighter, somehow. The snow had stopped before sunrise, leaving the branches dressed in sparkly, icy lace, like the whole forest had turned into a frozen cathedral. "Come on, Ranger," she said, tugging lightly on the leash. Though honestly, Ranger didn't need the leash. That dog listened better than most adults. And yeah, sure, he had a little grumpiness in him. Older, been through things. But with Mia, he was soft. Loyal in that deep, quiet way dogs get after they've already chosen their person. Ranger sniffed the air. Mia giggled. "You're smelling breakfast, aren't you? I told Mom you were still hungry." But Ranger wasn't sniffing for breakfast. His ears perked. His tail dropped. Not tucked, just alert, focused. "Ranger," Mia whispered, her boots crunching in the snow as she tried to see what he saw. Ranger suddenly pulled forward. Not hard, just enough to make her stumble. Then he froze, nose high, breath fogging in soft bursts. A low rumble started in his chest. Not a growl, not a warning. More like a sound he made when he'd found something important, something that mattered. "Hey, what's wrong?" Mia asked, her voice small. Ranger's body went still, stiff as a board. He took 2 slow steps forward, then another, like an invisible string was pulling him deeper into the trees. Mia followed, heart fluttering. Not fear, not excitement, something in between. "Ranger, wait! You're going too fast! Hey!" But Ranger wasn't disobeying. It was instinct. Old instinct. The kind drilled into him back when he worked with Mia's dad. Back when Ranger was a certified search and rescue K9. They pushed past a cluster of pine branches, and Ranger stopped so sharply Mia bumped into him. "Why'd you—" Then she heard it. A sound so faint she almost thought she imagined it. A rasp. A broken inhale. Like someone's lungs were fighting the cold. Mia froze, eyes wide. "Ranger, did you hear?" Ranger barked once. Loud. Urgent. Mia's breath hitched. "Is someone out here?" She stepped closer, snow crunching softly under her boots. Ranger pawed at something half buried beneath the drift. Something dark. Something not shaped like a log, or rock, or fallen tree. And then she saw a hand. A human hand. Blue around the fingernails. "Oh my gosh," she whispered. "Ranger, is that a person?" Ranger didn't bark again. He leaned down, nudging the hand gently with his nose, whining. Mia dropped to her knees, gloves scraping at the snow, a torn jacket sleeve, a shoulder, a face, a man's face. Pale, ice, crusted along his eyelashes, lips blue, skin twitching in tiny involuntary shivers, like his body was still trying, stubbornly, desperately, to stay alive. Mia gasped. "Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Ranger! He's freezing!" The man's chest barely moved, breaths thin and uneven, like the world had to remind him to keep trying. "Sir? Hey, can you hear me?" Nothing. Ranger pressed his head against the mocked shoulder, whining louder, pawing gently, like he wanted him to wake up. "Ranger, do something," Mia begged. "Please." Ranger nudged the man again, then looked at Mia, those deep, dark eyes telling her, "I found him. You save him." Mia swallowed hard. She was 10, not strong, not trained, not anything. But she felt it, right there in her chest. If she didn't act now, he wouldn't last another minute. "Sir, please don't die. please." Still nothing. She leaned closer, breath fogging over his cheek. "Chu dung chet. Chow sajup chu," she whispered. And somehow, maybe her voice, maybe Ranger's warmth, the man's lips parted, just a little. His breath hitched. A faint, broken sound came out. Not words, but enough. Enough to prove he wasn't gone. Mia's heart jumped. "Ranger, we gotta get Mom, now, right now!" Ranger barked once, spun toward the trail, and Mia scrambled after him, snow flying around her boots as they ran through Winterwood Forest, like the whole world depended on it. Because, well, it kinda did. If you thought things would calm down once Mia and Ranger found Adam, yeah, no. If anything, that was exactly when things in Frost Valley started getting weird. Like, really weird. The Frost Valley Clinic wasn't fancy. 8 rooms. Old heaters that clicked all night. Hallways that always smelled faintly like pine disinfectant. But that morning, when Adam finally opened his eyes, it felt like the whole building had changed its temperature. Like someone had turned the thermostat down just enough for you to notice, but not enough to complain. He blinked slowly, lashes still crusted with frostburn. The room swayed from the concussion, soft beeping beside him, steady, quiet. And for a moment, he didn't know where he was, or, honestly, who he was. Then the door cracked open. Dr. Harper Thompson stepped inside. Her hair pulled into a messy bun, the kind that says she'd been up since before sunrise. And her face carried that look moms get when they're worried, but trying really, really hard not to show it. She held a clipboard, but her eyes were on Adam. "Oh, thank God," she breathed, hand rising to her chest. "You're awake." Adam tried to speak, but it came out as a dry scrape of air. "Easy," Harper said, lifting a finger. "Your throat's a mess. You inhaled a lot of cold air. Just breathe. I'll get water." She stepped toward the sink, and the moment she did, the door opened again. Sheriff Miles Hargrove walked in. And listen, something about him didn't fit the room. The clinic was warm, human, soft around the edges. The sheriff? Sharp. Too sharp. Boots clicking too loud. Smile stretched too wide. A chill hanging around him that didn't match the heater humming behind Adam's bed. "Officer Hale," Hargrove said, voice syrupy and smooth. "Boy, did you give us a scare?" Adam stared, groggy, foggy, trying to place why that voice felt wrong. Familiar, but wrong. Harper set the water cup down. "Sheriff, he literally just woke up. Can you maybe not overwhelm him right now?" "Oh, of course, Doc," Hargrove said with a warm grin. But his eyes, no warmth there. They kept flicking toward the security camera in the corner, again and again, like he wanted to know if it was recording, or who might be watching. Adam noticed. Even through the haze, he noticed. "Do you remember anything?" Hargrove asked casually, stepping closer. Anything at all about what happened up on Crowheart Ridge? Adam swallowed, ribs aching, a flicker of memory. Snow. A voice, someone laughing. Then gone. I don't know. He rasped. Harper stepped between them, protective, quiet, firm. He has a concussion. Let him rest. You can talk later. Hargrove's smile twitched, tiny, irritated. But he nodded. Sure thing, Doc. I'll check in again soon. He tapped Adam's foot with a knuckle. Glad you're alive, son. Real glad. But his eyes drifted to the camera one last time before he left. The door closed. The room warmed instantly. Harper released a breath she'd been holding. God, that man. Adam frowned. What's wrong with him? Well, Harper said, pulling fresh bandages. That's a long story, and it can wait. You need to rest. But her tone said everything. She adjusted the blankets, and something slipped out from under Adam's torn uniform jacket on the chair. A folded piece of paper, yellowed, creased, edges torn, like it had been ripped out in a hurry. Harper murmured, picking it up. Is this yours? Adam blinked, confused. Harper unfolded it and froze. It wasn't just a map. It was Winterwood Forest, marked up with red X's, circles around old logging roads, arrows pointing far off public trails, and near the bottom corner, smeared pencil, transport route, do not lose. Harper's stomach flipped. This is some kind of smuggling layout. Adam's blood ran cold, even without fully understanding it. Harper folded the paper fast and shoved it into her coat pocket, like a reflex, a terrified reflex. Not here, she whispered. Not with him around. Adam tried to sit up, wincing. Harper, what is going on in this town? Before she could answer, Ranger barked down the hall, loud, nervous. Then Mia's voice, calling for her mom. Harper tensed. I need to check on them. You stay here. Don't talk to anyone but me. Understand? Adam nodded. She slipped out. The hallway lights flickered once as the door clicked shut. Adam stared at the ceiling, heart pounding. The sheriff's fake smile. The map. The camera. Ranger barking. Harper hiding something because she was scared someone else might see. Something was unraveling in Frost Valley, and he had a horrible feeling. He was right in the middle of it, even if he didn't remember why. If you were lying in that hospital bed, barely remembering your own name, would you trust Sheriff Hargrove? 1. Absolutely not. Maybe, but only a little 5. No way, he's hiding something big. I'd run the moment I could walk. If Adam thought waking up in that clinic felt strange, the feeling doubled. No, tripled. The moment Harper came back with that tight look on her face, you could tell something was pushing her from the inside, something she couldn't ignore anymore. And honestly, the whole day had that weird, buzzing energy, like the woods themselves were restless. So when she stood at Adam's bedside hours later and said, "We need to go into Winterwood," Adam didn't argue. He just nodded, slow, stiff, like his body was remembering what it felt like to move after everything that happened. Mia and Ranger waited by the clinic truck, bundled up, ready like they were heading out on an adventure. Except this wasn't an adventure. This felt like walking into the center of a storm no one fully understood yet. Mia climbed into the back seat with Ranger. Harper got behind the wheel. Adam settled into the passenger seat, ribs protesting every inch. "Are you sure you should be out of bed?" Harper asked. "No," Adam said, dead serious. "But I'm going anyway." Harper exhaled through her nose. "Okay then." The drive into Winterwood Forest was quiet at first. The kind of quiet that presses against your ears. Snow clung to tree trunks like chalk dust. Every branch bowed inward, forming a long white tunnel leading them deeper. Halfway in, Harper cleared her throat. "So, the map in your jacket, it had markings all over Winterwood, specifically the North Trailhead." Adam nodded, watching the trees slide by. "I must have been investigating something big." "Yeah," Harper murmured, gripping the wheel tighter. "Big doesn't even begin to cover it." They reached a spot where the road simply ended, vanished into a wall of pines. "This is it," Harper said. "We walk from here." The moment the doors shut, Ranger's ears perked. He sniffed the air, tail stiff, not fearful, but recognizing something. "Stay close," Adam said. They followed a narrow trail, boots crunching in dry snow. The cold wasn't biting this time. It was the quiet cold, the kind that sits on your shoulders and refuses to move. Eventually, the trees parted, and there it was, an old warehouse. Wooden walls warped and gray, a sign hanging by one rusty nail. "Montana Timber Co." Mia whispered, voice tight, "I thought this place burned down." "It did," Harper said. 20 years ago. The fire took out half the North Mill." Adam stepped closer, eyes narrowing. "Then why are there fresh tire tracks?" Sure enough, wide skid marks circled the building, tracks heavy enough to belong to freight trucks. Ranger growled, low, uneasy. "Yeah," Adam muttered. "I don't like it either." He pushed the main door. It groaned open, screaming like metal scraping bone. Inside, darkness. Darker than it had any right to be. Old lumber stacked high. Broken machinery. Spider webs collecting decades of secrets. Mia clung to Harper's coat. "Mom, I don't like this." "It's okay, sweetheart," Harper said, though her voice trembled. Adam's flashlight cut across the floor. "Look," he said. "Fresh footprints. Not old. Not faded. Fresh." and next to them heavy dragging marks, like crates had been hauled through. The trail led to the back wall, except when Adam tapped it, it sounded hollow. "Help me move this," he said. Together they shoved aside a wide wooden panel. Behind it, a trap door, large enough for a person to climb through. "No way," Mia breathed. Adam lifted the hatch. A wave of cold, metallic air rushed out. The smell of forgotten underground places. A staircase descended into pitch black. "Stay behind me," Adam said. The deeper they walked, the colder the air became. Ranger's nails clicked on the steps, echoing like distant warnings. At the bottom, the flashlight swept across a massive chamber carved into the ground. Crates stacked to the ceiling, barrels sealed with wax, rows of hollow logs lined up like coffins. Adam pried one crate open and froze. Inside, military-grade rifles, wrapped, clean, ready. Harper tore open another. White powder, packets, sealed tight. "Oh my God," she whispered. "This is a drug pipeline." "And a weapons depot," Adam added. "And those logs? Hollow freight containers." Mia's voice shook. "Like smugglers? Like in movies?" Adam shook his head slowly. "Worse. This is a whole operation, interstate, maybe international." Harper examined a stack of pinned invoices, roots, dates, initials. "Hargrove must have known," she murmured. "He had to. These trucks don't go in and out of Frost Valley without the sheriff noticing." The air felt heavier now, not from the cold, but from the truth settling in. Ranger suddenly barked, sharp, warning. Footsteps. Above them, someone else was in the warehouse, not friendly. Harper's eyes widened. "Adam, what do we do?" Adam didn't blink. "We get out. Now." They moved fast. Too fast to be quiet. Too slow to feel safe. Ranger kept glancing back. Tail low, body tense. Halfway up the stairs, snow crunched outside the warehouse door. More footsteps. Adam whispered, "Harper, take Mia. Don't stop. Don't look back." The moment they stepped out of that underground tunnel, you could feel it. Like the air above ground wasn't the same anymore. Heavier, meaner. Almost like Winterwood knew what they'd found and didn't want to let them leave with it. Adam held a hand up, motioning for Harper and Mia to stay behind him as they crept toward the edge of the warehouse. Ranger stayed close, body tight, tail low, ears pinned forward. They made it maybe 10 feet from the door, when Adam suddenly stopped. The forest was wrong. Too still. Too quiet. Like the trees were holding their breath. Harper whispered. Soft. Shaky. "Adam." He didn't answer, because he already saw it. A shadow between two pines. A figure leaning against a tree like he'd been waiting there all morning. Duke Mercer. Hat low. Jacket zipped high. hands shoved into his pockets like he wasn't the reason Adam lay dying in a ditch 48 hours ago. "Well, well," Duke drawled. "Ain't this cozy?" He stepped forward, boots crunching over snow. The hero cop, the doc, the kid, and the mutt. Mia pressed closer to her mom. Ranger's growl started low, deep enough to vibrate the snow under his paws. Adam whispered, "Harper, back up, slowly." Duke chuckled. "Nah, no need for that. I'm not here to kill anybody." He paused, then tilted his head. "Well, except maybe one." Ranger moved first. He lunged so fast Mia didn't even get her scream out. 1 second he was at her side, the next he was flying through the air, teeth bared, aiming for Duke's arm. Duke was ready. He swung the rifle, not to shoot, to strike. The sound. God. That sound shouldn't exist. A hard, sickening bop, cracking across the clearing like someone splitting wood. Except it wasn't wood. It was Ranger's skull meeting a steel gun stock. Mia screamed, raw, sharp, the kind of scream that rips out of a kid when the world stops making sense. Ranger hit the ground, legs twitching, eyes rolling back before he tried. God, he tried to stand again. But he couldn't. His legs kept collapsing beneath him. "No!" Mia shrieked. "Ranger! Ranger! Get up! Get up!" Harper grabbed her, pulling her close. Adam saw red. He moved on instinct, hand reaching for his pistol. But Duke was faster. He swung the rifle again, aiming straight at Adam's chest. "Don't," Duke said, voice flat. "You ain't gonna make it." It all happened in seconds. Ranger tried again, forcing his trembling paws into the snow. But Duke kicked him aside. Hard enough to send him sliding several feet. Mia tore free from Harper's grip, sprinting toward Ranger. "MIA!" Harper screamed. Too late. Duke dropped the gun, lunged, and snatched Mia by the arm. He swung her around like she weighed nothing, clamping a hand over her mouth so her scream came out muffled. Harper's knees buckled. "No! No, don't touch her! Please! Please!" Adam sprinted, boots tearing through snow. Duke pointed the rifle again. "Back! Off! Cop!" Mia kicked, clawed, trying to bite his hand. But Duke jerked her tighter, hoisting her against his chest like a sack of flour. "This ain't personal," Duke muttered. "Kid's just insurance." Harper lunged. Adam grabbed her, holding her back. She was sobbing. Loud, broken sobs, like someone ripping cloth. "Give her back! Duke, please, please, I'm begging you!" Mia's little voice choked through his hand. "Mom! Mo! Mm." Adam shook. Not angry, not furious. He was shaking with a helpless, boiling hatred, the kind that makes a man feel like he's going to explode from the inside. "Let her go," Adam said, teeth clenched. "She's a kid. She didn't do anything." Duke shrugged. "Then you shouldn't have poked around where you didn't belong." He backed into the trees, dragging Mia with him. Ranger tried one last time to stand, to follow, but fell again. His whimper wasn't a dog's sound. It was the sound of a dying friend. Harper screamed until her voice cracked. "Please, Duke, please, she's just a baby. Don't do this." But Duke didn't slow, didn't look back, didn't hesitate. He disappeared into the shadows of Winterwood, taking Mia with him. Harper collapsed into the snow, sobbing into her hands. Adam dropped beside her, grabbing fistfuls of ice so tight his knuckles split open. Blood dripped into the snow, bright against the white. "No," Adam whispered, shaking. "No, no, no, no." Ranger dragged himself through the snow until he reached Harper, laying his head on her lap, breath shallow, eyes half open. She stroked his fur with trembling fingers. "Oh, God. Oh, God. What do we do? What do we do?" Adam stared at the dark line of trees where Mia had vanished. Every breath stabbed his ribs, but he didn't care. Something inside him, something deep, snapped. "I'm going after her," he said, voice low, deadly calm. Harper turned, eyes swollen red. "Adam, we don't even know where he's taking her." Adam wiped the blood from his knuckles. "We're going to find out." He looked at Ranger. "Can you track her?" Ranger tried to stand and failed. Adam closed his eyes, jaw trembling. "This is my fault," he whispered. "She trusted me. That kid trusted me." Harper grabbed his sleeve. "No, no, this is them, not you, you hear me? Not you!" The wind cut through the clearing, carrying the faint echo of Mia's last scream, and for a moment, Frost Valley stopped breathing. After Duke vanished into those trees with Mia clamped under his arm, something inside that forest changed, like the whole place exhaled, slow, cold, waiting to see what Adam and Harper would do next. They didn't move at first, not because they didn't want to, but because their bodies simply shut down. Shock does that. It freezes you, traps you in the last image you saw, your kid being dragged away, your dog hitting the ground, your world breaking open. The silence after Mia's screams faded was the worst kind. Too empty, too final. But then, a soft, broken sound. Ranger, trying again to stand. Adam turned first. Hey boy, easy." He knelt in the snow beside him, careful but fast. Ranger's side rose and fell in shallow, uneven breaths, his fur crusted with blood, his eyes half closed, but still searching the tree line. "God, he's hurt," Harper whispered, wiping her nose with her glove. "Adam, we have to take him back. He can't." Ranger suddenly lifted his head. Barely. But enough. His pupils locked onto the direction Duke disappeared. He whimpered, low, determined, then pushed his paws into the snow again. Adam blinked. No way. He can't even. Ranger got up, wobbly, shaking, eyes glazed, but up. He staggered 2 steps forward, nearly collapsing, then braced himself and looked back at them like, "Follow me. Now." Harper gasped. "Ranger, Baby, no. You're hurt, sweetheart. Ranger didn't care. Dogs like him, rescue dogs, canines, they don't stop until the person they love is safe. Time to 100 bam. Pain meant nothing. Blood meant nothing. Only purpose mattered. Adam swallowed hard, then stood, ignoring the pain ripping through his ribs. Harper, he said quietly. He's tracking her. Harper's eyes widened, fear and hope warring inside them. He can still do that? Even with... She gestured helplessly at his injuries. Yeah, Adam said. He's doing it right now. Ranger barked, short, sharp, impatient. Adam grabbed the rifle Duke had dropped, checked the chamber, and slung it over his shoulder. His shoulder screamed in protest, but he didn't back down. Something had ignited behind his eyes. Something Harper had never seen before. He wasn't the same man they'd found half dead in the snow. Something else was waking up inside him. Something that survived Crowheart Ridge for a reason. Harper wiped her face, forcing herself to breathe. Adam, she whispered, voice cracking. If we go after them, we could die out there. Adam didn't sugarcoat it. Yeah, we could. Harper swallowed, tears welling again. And if we don't? Adam didn't hesitate. She dies alone. Those words hit Harper like a spike to the heart. She closed her eyes for 1 second, long enough for grief to tremble through her body, long enough for a mother to break. Then she opened them, and the fire behind her gaze could have burned down the forest. Okay, she said, voice steady. Okay, then let's move. She turned to Ranger. Lead the way, baby. Ranger barked once, weak but determined. And then the wind hit. A sudden blast. A warning. Winterwood's weather turned on them like a beast waking up. Snow rising in sheets, branches thrashing overhead. Adam squinted into the growing storm. Damn it. It's starting. Bow to it, Harper whispered, the words shaking like a prayer. A storm? Mia once asked her. Like the ones in storybooks. No, Harper had answered. Winterwood storms aren't storybook storms. They're mean. And this one was already proving it. Snow whipped into their faces as they plunged into the trees. Visibility dropped fast, the world dissolving into white and black. Ranger's tracks were already disappearing behind them. Adam pulled Harper close. Stay on my left. Don't drift. If you lose me, yell. Harper nodded, teeth chattering not from cold, but terror. She wasn't built for this. She wasn't a fighter. She wasn't a soldier. She was just a mom who'd lost her kid. But that was enough to make her dangerous. Branches snapped overhead. The wind howled like a warning siren. Ranger kept limping forward, nose low, following Mia's scent with desperate energy. Every few feet he'd stop, look back, then push forward again. Adam slipped on the ice, pain firing through his ribs, but he didn't slow. Not for a second. "You should be in a hospital bed," Harper yelled. "I will be," Adam shouted back. "After she's safe." Something in his voice, soft but unbreakable, told her he wasn't lying. They were halfway down a ravine when Ranger stopped suddenly. Adam crouched beside him. "Talk to me, boy. What is it?" Ranger whined, then barked toward a darker section of forest almost invisible in the storm. "Tracks," Adam said. "Fresh ones." Harper pushed closer. "Her tracks?" Adam nodded. "And Duke's." Harper's breath hitched. "Then go," she whispered. "Adam, go." He stepped in front of her, gripping the rifle tighter. "Harper," he said, meeting her eyes. "We'll bring her home." She stared into him, into the fire building there, into the promise. And she whispered, voice low, fierce, unshakable, "We're getting my daughter back. I don't care if the whole damn forest tries to stop us." Ranger growled, ready. Adam lifted his rifle. The storm howled louder, and together, a mother, a wounded cop, and a battered K9 stepped straight into the jaws of Winterwood. Honestly, the deeper they pushed into Winterwood, the clearer it became that this storm wasn't just weather. It felt planned. Like the mountain itself was trying to bury this night before anyone could remember it. But Adam, Harper, and Ranger didn't care. They kept climbing, one slippery ledge after another, until Ranger suddenly stopped dead in his tracks. He lifted his nose to the wind, sniffed once, twice, then barked sharply and surged forward with a burst of strength that didn't even make sense for a dog that injured. "Ranger, slow down!" Adam shouted. But Ranger wasn't slowing for anything. Not tonight. Harper stumbled behind them, grabbing tree trunks as the wind shoved her like invisible hands. "Adam, he found something. He has to have." And he had. Because up ahead, through the screaming snow, a faint flicker of orange appeared. A light. Small. Weak. Shivering in the wind like it could snuff out any second. Adam narrowed his eyes. There. The ridge. Cabin. Harper's breath caught. "Mia, please let her be in there." Ranger reached the clearing first. The old hunting cabin sat crooked on the cliff's edge. Boards warped, roof half collapsed. Inside, an oil lantern swung wildly, throwing jagged shadows across a cracked window. Adam motioned Harper behind him. "Stay behind me no matter what. Got it?" Harper nodded, trembling. Just get my little girl." Adam pressed his back to the cabin wall, checked his rifle with a shaky breath, and a gunshot exploded inside. Harper screamed. Adam burst through the door. The storm punched into the cabin, snow swirling across the floor. Everything happened at once. Mia, tied to a chair in the corner, crying so hard her breaths came out in hiccups. Time 300 plombs. Duke Mercer. Behind a flipped table, rifle raised, eyes wild, and Caleb Rowe, coat torn, face bleeding, with a gun pointed straight at Mia's head. Adam's heart stopped, but he didn't freeze. He fired first. Duke dove behind cover, shouting, "He's here! He's here!" Caleb snarled, dragging Mia by the arm. "You move again, cop, and the kid—" He didn't finish. Because Ranger, bloody, limping, barely conscious earlier, came out of nowhere. A streak of black and tan, he launched himself across the cabin like someone fired him from a cannon. Caleb didn't even have time to turn. Ranger's jaws clamped around his wrist. A sickening crunch. Caleb screamed. His gun flew from his hand and skidded across the floor. "MIA!" Harper shrieked, sprinting toward her daughter. Duke popped up and fired. The bullet splintered wood inches from Adam's face. Adam dove behind the frame, chest heaving. "Duke, drop it! I swear!" Another shot ripped past him. Okay, that was it. Adam swung out, sighted the rifle, fired. Duke stumbled, froze, dropped. Harper reached Mia, collapsing over her. "Oh my God, baby, Mommy's here." Mia sobbed into her chest. "Mama, don't let him take me. I won't. I won't. Never." Caleb tried to pull free, but Ranger wouldn't let go. Teeth sinking deeper, a fury burning in his eyes no gentle creature should ever carry. "Ranger, leave it," Adam commanded. Ranger hesitated, then finally released, stumbling backward, barely standing. Harper cried harder. "Oh, Ranger, sweetheart." Adam kicked Caleb's gun away, rifle aimed at his chest. "Move again, and I swear to God." But Caleb didn't move. Time 900 pounds. Not because he understood, because he couldn't. Ranger had shattered his wrist. The storm outside howled, shaking the cabin walls. Snow blasted through the window, lanterns sputtering like it was seconds from dying. Harper wrapped her coat around Mia. "I got you, baby. I got you." Adam's voice softened. "Mia, you okay?" She nodded through tears. "Ranger saved me. Ranger didn't let him." Adam turned, and Ranger's legs buckled. He collapsed onto his side. "Ranger, hey!" Adam slid to his knees. Ranger's tail gave one tiny thump, like he was saying, "I did it. She's safe." Harper covered her mouth. "Oh God. Adam. He's dying." "No," Adam whispered, pressing his forehead to Ranger's. "Stay with us. Come on, stay with me." Ranger's breathing, shallow, slow. But he was still alive, still wagging his tail. The cabin went quiet. Just the storm, and Mia's little hiccuping breaths. And in that moment, the whole world held its breath. 3 heroes in a collapsing cabin. A mother clutching her child. A dog who gave everything. A cop who refused to die twice. And a storm raging outside like it knew it had lost. Now let me ask you something. Honestly, from the gut. If you were Adam in that cabin, what would hit you hardest? 1. Seeing Mia cry for her mom. Watching Ranger collapse after saving her 5. Realizing you almost lost them both. Knowing the fight isn't over yet. Once the gunfire stopped in that cabin, and Adam knew Mia was safe, at least for the moment, Something in him shifted, like the moment you finally stand after being shoved down one too many times. His breath steadied, his hands stopped shaking, and for the first time since Crowheart Ridge, Adam felt certain. Caleb lay on the floor, clutching his ruined wrist, whimpering through clenched teeth. Duke was motionless where Adam had dropped him. Harper held Mia close, rocking her gently as the storm tore at the cabin roof. Ranger, bleeding out, but still alive, rested his head on Mia's leg. Every exhale came with a tiny tremor, but that tail kept thumping. Adam crouched beside him, brushing snowflakes off his muzzle. "Hang in there, buddy," he whispered. "Just a little longer, I promise." Harper's voice cracked. "Adam, we have to get out of here. The roof's about to go." "Yeah," Adam said, but his mind was racing ahead. "But before we leave," he reached into his jacket pocket and pressed a small, military-grade beacon. A red light blinked once, twice, activated. Harper stared. "Is that—" "Rescue beacon," Adam said. "Encrypted. Direct to federal channels." He glanced at Caleb's trembling form. "Sheriff Hargrove won't be able to bury this anymore." Harper froze. Then, realization flashed sharp in her eyes. "The recording," she whispered. "Adam, I still have the audio file. The one from the night Hargrove came to my house." Adam nodded slowly. "Good. That's the nail in his coffin." Mia clung to her mother tighter, still shaking. Are the bad guys gone?" Adam didn't sugarcoat it. "Not yet. But they're about to be." He scooped Ranger into his arms, pain ripping through his shoulder, but he didn't care. "Let's move." They stumbled out into the storm together. Snow lashed their faces like sand. The wind roared, drowning out everything except Harper's frantic breathing and Mia's tiny gasps. Adam led them down the ridge, following Ranger's old tracks, trying to beat the federal response. But halfway down, the world lit up. A streak of white-blue sliced across the tree line. A spotlight. Then another. Then the unmistakable chop of rotor blades shaking the air. Harper gasped. "Adam, is that—" "Yeah," Adam breathed. "They're here." A black helicopter cut through the blizzard like a blade through cloth. Then another, and another. Searchlights shredded the darkness, sweeping the forest, locking onto the cabin, the paths, the tree line. From deep below, engines rumbled. Trucks, big ones. Voices thundered through megaphones. "FBI, nobody move. Federal warrants in hand. Drop all weapons." Mia flinched, burying her face in Harper's coat. Adam let out a breath he'd been holding since the clinic. "This is it," he murmured. "This is the end." The closer they got to town, the louder the chaos became. Red and blue lights tore through the snow. Federal agents poured into Frost Valley like a tidal wave. Armored, coordinated, relentless. SWAT trucks ripped through the streets. Agents sprinted past alleys Adam once patrolled alone. And there, in the middle of Main Street, Sheriff Miles Hargrove stood on the station steps, jaw clenched so tight you could almost hear it crack. No smile now. Not the fake one. Not the sheriff one. Nothing. Just fear. Cold. Real fear. The lead FBI agent stepped forward holding a tablet. "Sheriff Hargrove," she said, voice cutting, through the storm. "We have audio evidence tying you to trafficking operations in Frost Valley." Harper pulled out her phone, hands shaking. "That's the recording," she whispered. "Adam, we got him." The agent tapped the screen. Hargrove's own voice echoed through the snowy streets. "If he starts remembering things, we clean up what's left. Leave no loose ends. Cole should have stayed dead." Gasps rippled through the gathered crowd. Townspeople, deputies, workers who'd suspected the truth but never dared speak. Adam stepped into view, blood on his jacket, Ranger limp in his arms, Harper and Mia behind him. Hargrove's face drained of color. "You," he hissed. "You were supposed to be gone." Adam shook his head. "You threw me off a cliff and still couldn't finish the job. That's on you." The agent nodded to her team. "Sheriff Miles Hargrove, you're under arrest for conspiracy, trafficking, obstruction, and attempted murder." Hargrove reached for his gun. 3 SWAT rifles snapped up instantly. "Don't!" one agent barked. Hargrove froze, then slowly lifted his hands. Handcuffs clicked. His reign ended. Not with a shootout, not with an escape, but with the sound of metal locking around his wrists. Caleb Rowe was next, dragged through the snow, screaming, wrist mangled. "You don't know who you're dealing with," he roared. "This is bigger than—" No one listened. The empire fell in one night. Every tunnel, every warehouse, every hidden road, exposed, destroyed. Adam watched it all with Mia pressed against his side, Harper crying softly beside him, Ranger faint but alive in his arms. Justice wasn't gentle. Justice wasn't quiet. Justice crushed Frost Valley's monsters like the, rotting wood they were. After the gunshots and the howling winds, no one expected Frost Valley to return to normal. But the funny thing is, life crept back in anyway. Gently, carefully, as if it were afraid to make too much noise at first. The storm finally broke at dawn. A thin ray of sunlight pushed through the clouds, pale but stubborn, like it was whispering, "Hey, I'm still here. You made it." And honestly, everyone needed that light, especially Ranger. The second they got him to Frost Valley Clinic, Harper and Mia refused to leave his side. Adam stayed too, pacing the hallway like a man waiting for a verdict. Ranger had saved Mia's life. He'd torn through hell on 3 legs. He'd taken a gun stock to the skull and still kept fighting. If courage had a heartbeat, it was lying on that operating table. 3 hours later, Dr. Patel pushed through the doors, pulling off bloody gloves. Harper jumped up so fast the chair fell over. How is he? Please, just tell me." Dr. Patel offered a tired smile. "He's a warrior, stubborn. He'll live. Mia burst into tears, happy ones, hugging her mom so tight Harper nearly lost her balance. Adam exhaled a long, shaky breath he'd been holding since the cabin. "Good boy," he whispered. "Good damn boy." They let Ranger rest in a recovery room, his head bandaged, his ribs wrapped. But when Mia tiptoed in and whispered, "Hi, Ranger. I'm right here," his tail thumped, weak but alive. That one little thump nearly broke everyone in the room. Over the next few days, something incredible happened. The snow began to melt. Not fast, not all at once. Just little drips from the roofs, little trickles along the sidewalks. Time 1500s. The kind of melting that reminds a town it has grass somewhere under all that white. Kids returned outside. Shops reopened. The streets didn't feel haunted. And Mia, God, she bloomed. The nightmares faded first. Then the silence cracked open. By the 5th morning, she was sitting on Ranger's bed, drawing pictures of him in her sketchbook. Harper watched from the doorway, hand pressed to her heart. The way Mia smiled, small at first, then bigger. It was like watching the sun warm a frozen field. She whispered, "Thank you." Not to anyone in particular, just to life, to God, to the mountain, to the universe for giving her child back. Harper changed too. You know how grief hangs around people like a shadow? Not loud, just always there. For the first time in years, her shadow felt lighter. She'd been a widow so long she forgot what ease felt like, what a morning without fear felt like. One afternoon she stood outside her house, mug of coffee in hand, eyes closed as the first real spring wind brushed her cheek. And she smiled. Not the tired smile, a real one. Soft, warm, free. Adam changed the most. After the FBI finished debriefing him and cleared him medically, he walked out of the station with a weight gone from his shoulders. He wasn't the cop who got thrown off a cliff. He wasn't a victim. He wasn't a loose end. He was alive. And for the first time in a long time, he had purpose again. One morning, maybe a week later, Adam walked down to Blue Elk River. Snow along the banks had shrunk into patches. The water thawed into a soft, glassy ribbon under the sunlight. He stood there, breathing in pine and wet earth. The world smelled new. Kids would skip rocks here soon. Fishermen would return. Couples would take photos on the old bridge. Time seen 100 zones. And for the first time, Adam let himself picture staying. Not running, not hiding, not sleeping with one eye open. Just staying. He shoved his hands into his jacket pockets, looked at his reflection in the river, and laughed softly. "You actually made it," he murmured. "Who the hell would have thought?" Footsteps crunched behind him. Harper, hair loose, cheeks warm from walking, hands tucked into her sleeves like she didn't want the moment to break. She stepped beside him. "Thought I'd find you here." Adam shrugged. suddenly shy. It's peaceful. It is, she said softly. Feels like the valley is waking up. Adam nodded. Feels like I am too. She looked at him, really looked, and whispered, You deserve that. He didn't know what to say, so he asked, How's Mia today? Harper smiled. Drawing, talking, laughing. She's healing. And Ranger? She laughed softly. His tail hasn't stopped wagging since he saw you walk past the clinic window this morning. Adam rubbed the back of his neck. Yeah, I owe him my life. You owe him nothing, Harper said. He loves us. That's enough. They stood together, watching Blue Elk River sweep winter away 1 inch at a time. And for the first time since Crowheart Ridge, Adam Hale felt something warm settle inside his chest. Maybe he had a future here. A real one. With people worth fighting for. A valley that refused to give up on him. A little girl who smiled again. A dog who refused to die. And a woman who looked at him like he was more than what he survived. Spring was coming. For all of them. Once spring finally pushed the last bits of winter off the valley, something else started thawing too. Not the snow, not the river. Something quieter. Something inside Adam, Harper, Mia, and yeah, even Ranger. It didn't happen in some big dramatic moment. No fireworks, no epic speeches. It was slow, gentle, the kind of change you only notice after it's already happened. It started with mornings. Adam didn't leave Frost Valley. Everyone assumed he would. Hell, even he assumed he would. But every time he pictured leaving, his chest tightened. Not from fear, from reluctance. He liked waking up in a place where the mountains weren't trying to kill him. He liked walking down to Blue Elk River before breakfast, hands shoved in his pockets, thinking about nothing for the first time in years. He liked knowing Ranger would limp run to greet him the moment he showed up at the clinic door. Mostly, though, he liked hearing Mia yell, "Adam's here!" from across the yard like it was breaking news the whole town needed to know. So yeah, he stayed. No speech, no announcement. He just didn't pack. One day, Harper asked, very casually, while making tea, "So, are you staying?" Adam shrugged, pretending he hadn't thought about it for weeks. "Yeah," he said. "Guess I am." Harper smiled into her mug so he wouldn't see how big that smile really was. Mia, though. Kids never hide anything. The day she realized Adam wasn't leaving, she sprinted across the yard, jumped into his arms, yelling, "Good! 'Cause Ranger and me decided you belong here anyway." Adam laughed. A real laugh. The kind he hadn't made in a long, long time. "Oh? You two decided that?" Mia nodded so hard her beanie nearly fell off. "Yep. Ranger says you're part of the pack now." Adam raised an eyebrow. "Did Ranger say that? Or did you say that?" Mia whispered, dramatic. "He said it with his eyes." Right on cue, Ranger padded over, sat at Adam's feet, and pressed his head against Adam's leg. Not a dog lean. This is my human now lean. Harper laughed softly from the porch. Looks like you've been adopted. Adam scratched Ranger's ears. Guess I don't have a choice, huh? Ranger thumped his tail. Nope. Deal with it. The three of them fell into this easy rhythm that didn't need explaining. Harper cooked. Adam fixed things he claimed weren't broken, just old. Mia drew pictures of our family. One picture ended up taped to the fridge. The four of them holding hands. Ranger in a superhero cape. Above it, in crooked letters, my family. Adam stared at it so long, Harper had to step beside him. She made that this morning, Harper whispered. Adam swallowed. Yeah, I see that. You okay? I don't know, he admitted. It's been a long time since anyone drew me into anything. Harper placed a gentle hand on his arm. You are part of this. He looked at her, really looked. Her soft eyes, her quiet strength. The kind of woman who held the world together even after it broke her. You sure? He asked. Harper nodded. Completely. And that hit harder than any fall or bullet or night in the snow. Even Ranger changed. Before all this, he'd respected Adam. Nothing more. Now? Ranger followed him everywhere. If Adam sat, Ranger dropped onto his feet. If Adam walked, Ranger limped right beside him. If Adam reached for the door, Ranger growled, guarding what was his. Harper joked, Congratulations, you're officially his pack leader. Adam shook his head. I'm not trying to be. Ranger's tail thumped against Adam's boot. Too late. Choice made. One evening, just before sunset, Adam sat on the porch steps. Mia curled against his side. Ranger sprawled across their feet. Harper leaning against the railing. The sky glowed pink and gold over Frost Valley. Adam? Mia whispered. Yeah, kiddo? Do you think God sends people? Like, sends them to the right places? Adam thought about it. The cliff, the snow, the girl and the dog who found him, the storm, the fact he was sitting here now, alive. Yeah, he said softly. Yeah, I think he does. Mia rested her head on his shoulder. Good, she whispered, 'cause I think he sent you to us. Harper's breath hitched. Adam swallowed hard. Ranger thumped his tail. Maybe, just maybe, family wasn't always blood. Sometimes, it was the people who found you when you fell, the ones who pulled you back, and the ones you chose to stay for. And honestly, the moment Adam stopped being the guy who fell off Crowheart Ridge and started becoming part of Harper and Mia's everyday life, something else quietly shifted around him. Frost Valley itself. Not in a loud way, not in a fireworks over the town square kind of way. More like a long-held breath finally being released after too many years underwater. the town finally started to breathe again. You don't realize how heavy fear is until it's gone. For so long, people in Frost Valley walked with their shoulders tight, their eyes low, their voices small. Everybody knew something was wrong. They just couldn't name it. But once the FBI trucks rolled out, once the arrests were made, once Hargrove, Duke, Caleb, and half the logging crew were hauled away, a strange silence hit Frost Valley. Not the scary kind, the peaceful kind. Stores opened their blinds all the way up instead of halfway. Parents let their kids walk to school again. People said good morning like they meant it. And the diner, the diner, went from 5 customers a day to people laughing in booths again. Even Winterwood changed. The new Forest Ranger unit, rebuilt from scratch, started clearing illegal logging roads, hauling out rusted machinery, replanting young pines. Fresh signs went up. Winterwood Restoration Project, Community First. Mia stared at one and whispered, "It's like the forest is healing too." And she wasn't wrong. Birds returned first, then deer, then the little foxes she loved so much, she kept drawing them in her notebook. Frost Valley didn't just survive corruption. It reclaimed itself. And right in the middle of all that change was Adam. A man the town once thought they'd never see again. Time 900s. A man they never expected to become their quiet hero. It started small. Nods from strangers. Awkward thank yous at the gas station. Someone accidentally buying his coffee and refusing repayment. "Just doing my job," Adam would say. But they knew better. They remembered. He exposed the darkness, fought the monsters hiding behind badges, survived what should have killed him, and saved one of their kids. One afternoon, outside the hardware store, Mayor Ellis walked up. Adam was adjusting Ranger's new harness when he heard, "Officer Hale?" Adam turned. "Sir?" The mayor extended a hand. "On behalf of Frost Valley, thank you." Adam blinked. Sure, thank you, but—" "No but, son," the mayor said softly. "You're the reason this place feels safe again." Adam didn't know what to say, so he scratched Ranger's ear and kept working. Humility wasn't something he faked. It was simply him. Harper saw the change too. The way he walked. The way he smiled more. The way he let people talk to him without flinching. One evening, after dinner, she stepped out on the porch and found him sipping tea Mia had made. Way too much honey. "You okay?" she asked. Adam shrugged. "Still not used to it." "Used to what?" "People acting like I'm something." Harper smiled softly. "Adam, you are something." He looked down at his hands. "I'm just a cop who happened to survive." "No," she whispered. "You're the man who helped this town stand up again." For once, Adam didn't argue. Ranger changed too. He healed faster than anyone expected. Not perfect. He still limped when it got cold. But his spirit, untouched. He patrolled the yard like he owned it. Chased squirrels like they offended him. Slept on Adam's feet every night. People joked he was the unofficial sheriff now. Honestly, he probably had more integrity than the last one. But the best sign Frost Valley was healing came from the people themselves. The library reopened its community room. Kids played soccer again. The church bells lost that heavy tone they'd carried for years, and the river market returned. Tables of jam, bread, quilts, the whole small-town dream coming back to life. Mia tugged Adam's sleeve and whispered, "Look, everyone's smiling." Adam looked around and realized she was right. Frost Valley, the town that had been suffocating under corruption, was breathing again. Because evil didn't live there anymore. Because darkness had been dragged into the open. Because sometimes all it takes is one man surviving the impossible, and a little girl and her dog finding him in the snow. And slowly, almost without anyone noticing, Frost Valley shifted from a place that survived into a place that lived again. And when a town starts healing, the people inside it do too. That's just how it works. One life touches another, then another, until finally, the whole valley feels different, which is probably why, a few weeks after everything ended, the four of them found themselves walking the trail toward Blue Elk River. No ceremony, no crowd, just because it felt right. Mia walked ahead, holding a little wreath she'd woven from early spring wildflowers. Purples, whites, and a pale yellow that matched the sunlight sneaking through the trees. Ranger trotted beside her, healed enough that his limp was barely there. Just a quiet reminder of what he'd fought through. Adam and Harper walked behind them, side by side. Not touching at first, but close enough that their hands brushed every now and then. And every time, one of them pretended it was an accident, even though it wasn't. The air was crisp, clean, carrying the smell of thawed dirt, river water, and new life. Birds darted overhead, calling to each other like they were announcing spring's official return. "Feels different today," Harper murmured. Adam breathed in deeply. "Yeah, like the valley finally exhaled." She smiled. "Exactly." They reached the riverbank, still cool from winter, but free of ice. The water moved softly, sunlight flickering across it like thousands of tiny candles. "Is this a good spot?" Mia asked. Harper nodded. "Perfect, sweetie." Mia knelt at the edge of the river. Ranger lay beside her, watching with that loyal, quiet protectiveness he always carried. "Okay," Mia whispered. "Here we go." She set the wreath on the water. It floated, then drifted away gently, spinning softly as the current carried it downstream. "What's it for?" Adam asked softly. Mia shrugged, in that shy way she did when something mattered too much. "It's for everything," she said. "For people who got hurt. For Dad. For the town. For us." Then, quietly, almost a whisper, "And for you, 'cause you didn't give up." Adam swallowed. The kind of swallow that comes from your soul, not your throat. Hey, kid. I didn't do it alone. Mia looked at Ranger. Yeah. Ranger says he did most of it. Ranger wagged his tail twice, agreeing completely. Harper knelt beside them, slipping an arm around Mia and kissing her hair. That's beautiful, sweetheart. They watched the wreath drift farther and farther until it became a tiny speck in the sunlight. And then, quietly, naturally, Harper reached for Adam's hand. At first it was just fingers, brushing. Then her palm settled into his, warm, certain, steady. Adam didn't look at her. He didn't need to. He just squeezed her hand, gently, like acknowledging something they'd both known for a long time. Harper finally spoke. You ever think about what would have happened if Mia and Ranger hadn't found you that day? Adam exhaled slowly. Every day. And now? She asked. Adam looked out at the river, the drifting wreath, the mountains rising blue behind it all. Now I think. Some miracles come disguised as falls, and some rescues come disguised as little girls and stubborn dogs. Harper laughed softly, eyes shining. Miracles belong to those who don't give up. Adam nodded. Yeah, guess I learned that the hard way. Mia leaned against Ranger, hugging him around the neck. You didn't fall for nothing, Adam. Mommy says God sends people at the right time. And I think He sent us. Harper blinked fast, swallowing that lump in her throat. Adam smiled gently. Then I'm glad he did. A warm breeze swept through the clearing. Clouds parted, and the sky, wide, endless, opened above them like a promise. A new beginning, a second chance, a future none of them expected, but all of them needed. They stood there a while, letting the moment soak in, not speaking, not rushing, just breathing. Then, Adam? Mia asked. Yeah? Does this mean we're a real family now? Adam looked at Harper. Harper looked at Adam. Ranger thumped his tail, casting his official vote. Adam smiled, soft, certain. Yeah, kiddo. I think we are. Mia beamed, hugging Ranger so tight he groaned. Harper leaned her head on Adam's shoulder, and Adam, finally, rested his cheek against her hair. The river kept flowing, the wreath kept drifting, and the world, this time, kept every bit of its light. Because some truths don't need dramatic endings. Some truths just stay with you. God doesn't let anyone fall without sending someone to lift them back up. No night lasts forever. Family isn't always born. Sometimes it's found. And Frost Valley, after everything, finally believed all three. If you stood by that river with the people who saved your life, what would mean the most to you? The miracle bee, the people beside you, the second chance.